Can we start with what?
You know what? In your defense, Adam, I did furiously Google who's in the Hall of Fame game, just in case you were like, who is playing again?
Yeah, I don't know. Idea.
The Texans and the Bears, I think. This Thursday.
I was over. I had Ravens. I had the Ravens and the Broncos in it, and it's actually the Texans and the Bears. Hey, wait! If the Bears are playing in it, I'm borderline intrigued if we get a Caleb Williams sighting there. But that's coming up on Thursday. Right now, I don't really care about it.
Well, it's the Texans are. I'm trying to think. It's because Devin Hester got in, right? It's Andre Johnson, Devin Hester. You know, they try and match up the teams who are playing in the Hall of Fame game with like the Hall of Fame class. That way, like if like Texans fans are going to go down there because they love Andre Johnson, so they'll go down. They'll go up there, I guess, to Canton. And then you also get to watch your team play in a preseason game.
We should have why aren't the Panthers playing in it with Julius Peppers? And I understand he played for the Packers and Bears as well, but Julius
Peppers. That's why, yeah.
That's right. Julius Peppers is
nobody wants to see the Panthers. That's why.
That's also a good point. That's why we bring you on, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. I ran these numbers. Tua Tagovailoa, whatever the total was, I think it was 212 over 4 in terms of a contract extension. Barring Miami doing something, this year the cap hit for Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle is only $50 million combined. Next year, it's $114 million. The following year, it's $141 million. What's going to give?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Dolphins, they actually, Christian Wilkins, the former Clemson standout, who's now with the Raiders, they gave him a bunch of money. He was kind of a cap casualty. They lost some pieces on defense as a result of the cap situation. I don't think Tua is. I don't think it's that massive of a problem. Obviously, you have big cap hits. When you sign a quarterback to a huge contract, I think it's like 59.4, 63.4.
Yeah.
They can actually get out of his deal. You would have $45 million in dead cap space in 2027, but then 57.8. I mean, I thought the Tua deal specifically, on Friday when the Tua deal got announced, the Jordan Love's deal got announced or got reported.
Yeah.
Like the Tua deal to me was easy. Like I know everybody's initial reaction was, "Oh my gosh, what a crazy overpay!"
Yeah,
but you've got to pay these guys. We did this whole song and dance about, is that too much money for a quarterback? Back when Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo got paid with the Raiders and the 49ers respectively.
How's that working out?
Ago. Well, I mean, yeah, it ended up being fine. Yeah, like 2 weeks later, like 10 quarterbacks got more money than they got. They're the highest paid quarterbacks in all of football. So I mean, I guess my point is like, with the Tua thing, you can, the way that the salary cap is structured out now, there's so much room in the salary cap. You can restructure all the time, and it's not that difficult to keep to get under the cap and to keep most of the players you want. But yeah, I mean, they'll have to do some funky math to make sure they remain cap compliant. But I really don't think it's like that huge a deal that we have this big contract coming for Tua, and then of course Waddle. You got a Mike McDaniel offense. You want your yak guys, get them the ball in space and let them take off. And Tua is a very accurate deliverer of the football, and he fits that system well.
I think Tyreek Hill is going to get released at some point within the next, not this year, obviously, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tyreek Hill has got a $34 million cap hit next year and then a $56 million cap hit the following year. I wouldn't be surprised if Hill is the cap casualty, because if you're $71 million over next year's cap today, I just don't see how that's going to work. But now to the quarterback himself. Is Tua Tagovailoa a top 5 quarterback in this league?
No is the answer. I don't know why I was dancing on the no. No, he's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. You don't get the quarterback salaries are not commiserate though with your talent level. It's more about when you sign. I do think,
but why aren't they? Isn't that the silly thing? Like, let's agree that the top 4 in whatever order we want to put them after Patrick Mahomes as number one, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. After that, who's the next best quarterback in the NFL?
Allen, Jackson, and Burrow.
Is the next
Stafford? Maybe?
Yeah, it might be Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford.
Of course, he's old.
That's obviously. I'm a Stafford homer. I mean, I think you can. I'd have to look. I mean, I think that's a spot where there's going to be some movement in terms of who takes that spot this year, because you sort of have Burrow needs to stay healthy, but he's in that upper echelon group. I mean, Jordan Love could make a leap forward if he has an incredible season. I think Stafford has a viable case. I wouldn't be shocked if Trevor Lawrence got involved in that sort of range. I think Anthony Richardson is a guy who we only saw a little bit of last year. I don't think he's going to become a top 5 quarterback, but I mean, he's an extremely talented prospect who flashed a lot. So I think there's a huge range of guys where somebody could fill that void, and honestly, it could be Tua too. I mean, look, he's really developing in that Mike McDaniel system. Finally healthy for 17 games last year. Led the league in passing yards. Has these 2 great weapons, and they add Jonnu Smith, who's a big yak guy at tight end.
Right.
You have Raheem Mostert, Devin Ashan. He's changing how he pronounces his last name, but he's projected to play in the slot 40% of the time this year. Could have an enormous season at that running back hybrid spot. I mean, this is a team that could, especially with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, their 2 top pass rushers are going to be, start the season probably on the pup or at least, not be ready to go week 1. This is a team that they're going to rely on their offense early and often, and it's going to be on Tua's back to try and win games. And I think he can do it. I mean, they jumped a 70 burger last year against the Broncos in week 3. I mean, this is an offense that can cook, and Tua's getting more comfortable in it and played really, really well. They need to beat some good teams. They need to win a playoff game. I get all that. But if last year's playoff game, he didn't play against the Bills 2 years ago. If he does, they probably beat the Bills. They almost did with Skylar Thompson. And then last year there were 15 fans who went to the hospital. It was so cold in Kansas City last year. I don't put that all in Tua. I think there is a chance that he really justifies this contract in this coming season.
I think, again, I am not the expert here. I think Tua is a player who is a product of his surroundings rather than the opposite. Whereas,
I wouldn't disagree with that, and I wrote about this for CBSSports.com. Check it out on the website. But it's there are probably the guys you mentioned, and I mean I don't even know I think Lamar qualifies too. Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow, and let's not forget Joe Burrow's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and has had a ton of weapons. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had Tyreek Hill for a long time too. Josh Allen just lost Steph Diggs, but he's got plenty of. I mean, all these guys have weapons. It's pretty rare nowadays. Most of the time when somebody doesn't have weapons, they end up playing like Bryce Young. I do think that this is a. I think a lot of quarterbacks are byproducts of their offense or their surroundings. I think for the most part, when you look at quarterbacks, there's probably 4 guys who can grab a bad roster by the scruff of its neck and drag it up into success. And even then, again, as I listed, most of these guys have pretty good weapons around them.
Well, I agree with everything you just said, but I think that Tua is the product of his surroundings more than to me, Allen, Jackson, and Mahomes 100% make their offenses. Those 3 guys, I'm not even sure Burrow does yet. All right, I think Burrow, it might be a balance. I don't know. Maybe Burrow does make the offense, but I think those first 3 guys 100% are the drivers of their offenses. I think it remains to be seen whether Tua is ever that, and I would never pay what the Dolphins paid Tua if he's not that. So to me, he's got to become that to justify that.
If you think the outrage on Tua is hot, wait till Brock Purdy gets $60 million next offseason.
I think I'm not arguing that, right? And I actually had just brought up Brock Purdy earlier. I'm fascinated to see what he's going to be like this year. Does he have another great year? Is he the product of the players around him? Or what does Kyle Shanahan think about that going forward along with John Lynch? But yeah, it'll be interesting. Victoria brought it up in in our one-timers, that's one of the quarterbacks that I am looking forward to. I thought Jalen Hurts took a step back this past year, didn't he?
Yep.
Part of that was injury. I thought Jalen Hurts took a big step back this past season.
Part of that, too, was having, Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator. Right? No, just kidding, that was Mac Jones. With the Eagles specifically, what's going to be really interesting to me is you have Philadelphia goes from losing both of its coordinators a year before and having this total changeover, and it clearly affected them. I mean, defensively, Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator for them for parts of last year. That was a problem down the stretch. What's interesting to me with Hurts is Kellen Moore comes in. He was Herbert. He leaves Dallas, goes to Los Angeles. Herbert's ADOT average depth of target is insanely low, lowest in the league for all qualified starters, which is just ridiculous for a guy of Justin Herbert's talent, right? What are you going to do now that you have Devontae Smith, you have A.J. Brown, these big, deep targets, and guys you could burners who get down the field? Are you gonna have Jalen Hurts dinking and dunking it? And then maybe more importantly, what happens with the loss of Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce? Because you're talking about the two biggest veteran leaders in that locker room for the Eagles, and you're talking about if you if you want to line it up in the middle, the literal spine of both the offense and the defense. What happens with the tush push? Now, whatever they call it, the
brotherly shove.
The brotherly shove. Yeah, that's right. I think you've heard Eagles players say that they feel confident, in Howie Roseman's ability to sort of, keep the bucket filled, so to speak. And they got Cam Jurgens who could fill it. And apparently, I think Jason Kelce said he knows what he's doing. They've got Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the defensive side to fill in for Fletcher Cox. But I mean, it's just two big losses, and I'm just curious to see how that impacts Jalen Hurts and really that entire offense as a whole because of that.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Is Dak Prescott going to reset the entire market whenever Jerry Jones gets around to it?
So I'm writing about teams who can miss the playoffs next year, like 6 playoff teams or 7 playoff. I can't remember how many I decided on, but playoff teams that could miss the playoffs. And it's like you get there's 2 easy ones. It's the I think you look at the Steelers and the Browns, just the underlying statistics and metrics, and it's like, all right, those 2 teams make sense. Then you got to start picking teams like the Texans and the Cowboys. And the reason I went with the Cowboys for this particular article and not the Eagles, and I think one of those teams is probably at risk just because of how that division could play out. But the Cowboys have Mike McCarthy and the entire coaching staff are on a lame duck year. They're on 1-year contracts. Dak Prescott is on a 1-year is in the final year of his deal. CeeDee Lamb is in the final year of his deal. He wants a new deal. No more Dan Quinn. You have just a tough division. I think the Washington's much better with Quinn than they were last year. And, addition by subtraction as well. Plus, I think the Giants bounce back a little bit if Daniel Jones can stay healthy and play like he did in 2022. I mean, it's crazy because Jerry Jones does this all the time. He did this twice with Jason Garrett. The first time they did it, Garrett ended up, I think, won 12 games and went to the playoffs, got a new contract. And then the last time he did it, he went stupid 17 games. I guess he went 9-8 or 8-9. I can't remember exactly which one it was. But, he missed the playoffs and he gets fired and they bring in Mike McCarthy. And so I'm just curious to see how the Cowboys all pans out. When Jerry said, we're all in on 2024, everyone thought that meant the Cowboys were going to spend big in free agency. We're going to go up top in the draft, trade up for, weapons, make it, give Dak a huge contract, pay CeeDee Lamb, shove all in on the season. What Jerry really meant, I think, in hindsight, was we have what we have, and if it works out in 2024, that's great. Otherwise, I'm going to fire everybody. It's like they sort of feel like maybe they're going to have to reboot, and I don't know, man. That's an interesting proposition for a team that has cornerback Stephon Gilmore's gone.
Yep.
Trevon Diggs coming off an ACL. They've got 2 offensive linemen. Tyron Smith's no longer there, so you got a rookie who's stepping in at left tackle, and then you're changing your center as well. I mean, there's a lot of transition and a lot at stake in Dallas. It feels like a slow start, and that thing can get ugly quickly.
I agree with you, and I wouldn't pay Dak. I wouldn't make Dak a 60 some odd $1 million a year quarterback. I just think that Dak falls into that category of being a product of the players around him. But I mean, again, I'm not the expert.
Now, in his defense, he had maybe not the best year of his career, but a really, really good year in his first season with Mike McCarthy calling plays. I think in like a different, like if you take the primary figures involved here and put them into different uniforms in a different city with a different owner, we're sort of talking about a consistently good team. Really, this Cowboys, they won 12 games 3 years in a row. It's just they had these the three playoff losses where you lose with that horrific play call where the Dak tries to spike the ball and can't get it off in time against the 49ers. Then Zeke gets absolutely truck sticks while he's snapping the ball against the Niners the next year. And then last year, you hosted the Green Bay Packers, and Jordan Love comes in and obliterates you, and Dak plays awful. So it's I think more than anything, just because of how Jerry Jones operates and the finality of NFL seasons, it's these playoff losses that have Mike McCarthy on the hot seat. You win 12 games 3 years in a row in the NFL, and you should be getting a contract extension. And instead, it's like, man, this guy's got the hottest seat in all of football.
Right. Look, it should be a hot seat, but Jerry Jones' seat is not hot, and he is very quick to tell you that the Dallas Cowboys have had just two general managers in their history, Tex Schramm and Jerry Jones. He is very proud of that, and if I were a Dallas Cowboys fan, which I'm clearly not, I would not be proud of that, but since I am not, I am laughing at that.
I mean, Jerry's ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson's players.
Good
that's
luck.
The thing that keeps him up at night is the fact that Jimmy Johnson. Well, Jerry's the GM. He hires Jimmy, who's the coach, but Jimmy's doing all the personnel stuff in '91 and '92. Jimmy sets up the roster. They can't coexist for long enough. Jimmy leaves. Barry Switzer comes in, wins the Super Bowl with Jimmy's players, and the Cowboys haven't been to it's 27 years since they've been to the NFC Championship game. I mean, that's crazy, man. It's been a hot minute, and I think it keeps Jerry Jones up at night a lot. Maybe 28 years if it's this time. It's the longest streak in all of football, maybe, for the championship game. I would also point out there's a great story. I think Mike Silver wrote about it in Sports Illustrated. It's hard to Google, but it's true. Jerry told him once that before the '96 Super Bowl, he prayed to, and I'm using air quotes here because I don't really believe, I think he was talking to Beelzebub or somebody else. I prayed to God and said, God, if you give me this Super Bowl, I'll never ask for another one again. It's how short-sighted can you possibly be?
Final thing. Are we sure? Are we really sure that those weren't Jerry's players? I'm going to leave that joke sitting there for people who pay attention to things that are not necessarily related to football. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. It was good to talk. We'll do it again. Next time we talk, we're going to rank the quarterbacks.
Ooh, I'm down. Let's do it.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, man.
Talk to you soon.
You got it. Will Brinson. I wonder if did people get the joke? I don't know if people got the joke or not.